It's the economy, stupid. Biden knows this. It's why he lies about it.
You chose this company today to deliver a message on the economy. I've heard you talk about economic growth, job creation. What do you say to the families, not just Latino families, but families across the country that don't feel that economic growth, that job creation reflected in their paychecks, in their pockets?
Well, it's not yet, but guess what? The 15 million jobs that we've created so far, more than any president has in the time period.
Biden's real legacy is a lie. Millions of Biden's jobs went to migrants. A lot of this job growth, part-time jobs. Real wages are down, prices are up, inflation still hot.
Hotter than expected, 3.5. This is 3/10 hotter than we looked at in the rearview mirror.
Gas prices up 40%, rent, used cars, groceries, all up 20%. Americans are skipping meals to pay their mortgage. You can't even buy a house with rates this high. Not since the Great Depression have we seen so many young adults living at home with their parents. But it's not just numbers. Forget about the numbers. How do the people feel?
Did you see what happened yesterday? If you heard a loud thud, it was Dementia Joe's presidency imploding. Let's be realistic. They cannot beat Donald Trump fairly. With what happened yesterday, it's obvious they cannot stop what's coming. Not Letitia James, not Fannie Willis, not Alvin Bragg, not Jack Smith. They can't stop what's coming. So you may be asking yourself, what happened yesterday? Well, the lies are being exposed in real time and they can't do anything about it. And with those lies being exposed, it means the American people can see it for themselves. And unfortunately, in some instances, they can actually feel it. They can feel the lies that the Biden administration is telling them. And there's nothing that Poo-Poo Diaper Joe can do to stop it. Not a single thing. They have been lying about so many different things for 3 years, they can't possibly cover themselves at this point. And of course, the media has been doing everything that they possibly can to keep a tight lid on things.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
It will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
Most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. It's highly unlikely that it's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. I don't know anybody who's worried about inflation.
Over the last couple of months, we actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said in part most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, etc., are high-class problems.
The number one thing that the president can do is help get COVID under control. That we know is the root cause of inflation.
President Biden this afternoon saying he thinks we're at the peak of the crisis right now and that lower prices are on the way.
The inflation has everything to do with the supply chain. Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin.
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts.
Our inflation rates are lower than other nations in the world.
The inflation we're seeing is due to the pandemic.
When inflation hit a new high last week, the administration and President Biden called the numbers out of date.
I just want to say a number. 0. Today, we received news that our economy had 0% inflation.
When I hear people talk about inflation, as I heard him there, we have to change that subject. Inflation is a global phenomenon.
Old Nancy was right. The only thing they possibly could do was try and change the subject. And 3 years ago, people were willing to listen. They were willing to give things a chance to see if they would turn around. But unfortunately for the Biden administration, the lies aren't working anymore. People have had it. And in essence, the Biden administration has been exposed for the frauds that they are.
We've got very strong domestic demand. Consumers are holding up. Some low-income consumers are perhaps exhausting their buffers of saving that they built up during the pandemic. We're seeing a little bit more distress at the household level there. But generally, households are in very good financial shape. Our financial system is generally quite strong.
A few moments later.
This just in, inflation is headed in the wrong direction right now. The latest consumer price report just out shows prices up 3.5%. This over same time last year. CNN's Rahel Solomon just looking through it all, just running into the studio to help us out. What are you seeing in this?
Hey, Kate. So, yeah, you put it pretty well there that this is moving in the wrong direction.
It's getting so bad for Poo-Poo Diaper Joe that even the media is shocked with what's happening. While they surely don't want the truth to get out, live television is becoming a problem for them. Check this out. So in this clip, MSNBC does a live segment where they're talking to undecided voters. And what happens next is epic.
Two more. The undecided voters were also asked how they think President Biden is doing on the economy. Take a listen.
I think he's been absolutely disastrous for the economy.
I agree. Raise your hand if you think President Trump's policies on the economy would be better for your family personally. Raise your hand. All right, so that is everybody.
That is everybody. It almost sounds like he's talking at a funeral. He's giving a eulogy for Diaper Joe. I mean, it's crazy. Every single person in their focus group just said, nah, we prefer Trump.
President Biden argues that his economic record has been very good. He said President Trump's was not as good.
They're chuckling and laughing.
What are you keying off of? Sean, since you had the best smile and Virginia had second best smile, what are you keying off of to say President Trump's economic policies would be better for you?
My past performance of my 401k. I know it was post 2020 and everything kind of flipped.
Now remember what he just said, because I have another segment coming up where he's talking about watching his 401k. Remember that he said that.
Flipped around, but you can't blame everything on 2020 for forever.
We have areas here in Pennsylvania where it's just at a standstill right now. Like things are supposed to be being built and the interest rates are just way too high for people to invest and start moving around.
And Virginia, just staying with you because Pennsylvania is near and dear to Joe Biden's heart. Are there Biden policies that you would blame for the problem? And if so, what are they?
The interest rate is so high right now, and I know they're trying to...
I cannot believe he asked that question so that she could expound on it and just blow up Biden's entire Biden economics thing.
Cut the inflation down, but if nobody is building, no businesses are really coming to Pennsylvania right now to keep us moving forward.
Even if you're trying to buy a house, because I'm trying to become a first-time home buyer, the prices are so high right now. It's just hard.
Is there anything Joe Biden could do or say between now and the time you vote that would make you feel differently about feeling that his policies would not be as good for your family on the...
Now, this is a great question, and it's very telling, and it's a point of this video and why it's too late. Biden has lost. This guy just asked them, is there anything he can do, basically, to change your mind and get back on the Biden train?
Economy? Or have you pretty much decided that Trump's policies would be better for the economy?
I feel like he doesn't even take accountability for what's going on in the economy. Not even accountability, he's in denial that it's happening.
He's in denial of what's happening, and they're seeing that because the media propaganda as well.
And as Biden needs to hear the people, because when he's talking about the economy doing stellar, he's talking about the stock market. He's not looking at homelessness or joblessness. He's not thinking about how much it costs to go to the grocery store. And he's gaslighting literally everyone in the process.
He's gaslighting everyone. I've used that term a number of times in my videos, and people are beginning to see that they're being, basically BS'd, gaslit.
And Omar, you voted for Joe Biden last time, right?
Yeah.
Some really important and hard insights for the Biden campaign to hear there, and hearing all that, you might think things are pretty bad for President Biden. That was not good.
Things are not good. Duh, you think so, Mika? Yeah, you finally realized you no longer have control of everybody. You no longer can just put out the message and have people accept it. There were 9 people on that panel unanimously, and they were undecided voters. So they weren't in the Trump camp. 9 undecided voters said, yeah, we've had enough. We're being gaslit. The guy's lying, and we're not going to give him the opportunity to change before November. Now, if you thought that was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. What you're about to see, I've never seen happen on live television before. I've never seen it happen anywhere. You're about to see a sitting member of Congress get his nuts clipped on live television.
I'm going to clip your nuts.
Some of the real warning signs that I heard for the Biden campaign, Congressman, and that was that these undecided voters polled, and then in this focus group, showing that they are really suffering when it comes to interest rates, trying to buy a home, looking at their own personal economies, and they're feeling like they're being gaslit.
She tried to let him know, hey, maybe you might want to be a little bit truthful here. They're tired of being lied to. Come on, Clyburn, what are you going to say?
They're feeling Joe Biden isn't accountable. What's your response to that? And how can the campaign address these feelings?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I think that we have to focus on people's everyday lives. And 401ks are not about people's everyday lives.
Now, just a second ago, you heard one of those people on that panel say, I checked my 401k and it's doing really bad. And now you got this congressman sitting there going, hey, it's no worry about it. That's an investment account. Don't worry about your investments. It's about everyday things. Obviously, he didn't see that segment. He didn't even know what that guy had said. And then he came on immediately after and basically ridiculed the guy, gaslit him into saying it's not a part of your everyday life. If you've been paying into a 401k for 10, 20, 30 years, it's most assuredly part of your everyday life. You want to know what's in your account. And this sitting congressman just had the nuts for a short period of time to actually say, don't worry about that. That's not real.
And I do believe, just from my own observations, from the conversations I've had with people, there are concern about things like inflation. But what we've got to get them to see is that inflation today is about 40% of what it was when Joe Biden took office.
She just told you not to gaslight the people, and what do? You turn around and try to gaslight them. Hey, it's actually 40% less now than it was before, huh?
And so the inflation rates are down, and people's incomes are up.
You're actually going to sit there in Washington making your cushy salary for which you're not deserving of and tell people what you're seeing in your own bank account isn't really happening. It's not indicative of what's really going on. You people don't understand Bidenomics. He actually just said that on live television. He actually said that after she warned him about gaslighting the American people.
Unemployment is on the decrease.
And but listen, the unemployment's on the decrease. Why? Because people are having to work 2 jobs to keep up. They're actually having to go to day jobs. And it's like, hey, honey, I can't afford everything, so now I'm going to have to get a second job, a part-time job, which is included in those numbers because I can't afford what's going on here. And I got to take care of my family.
Although we see the prices at the stores costing more money, people are in fact earning greater incomes.
Can you believe that came out of his mouth? Hey, listen, the prices are higher, but you can afford it because you're making more money. He actually just said that.
So what we've got to do is make sure that people see the policies of the Biden administration, how they affect their everyday lives, and get them to see in his policies that which is real, not what they may hear on social media.
So what you're seeing when you go to the gas station and when you pay your mortgage and when you pay your rent and when you buy groceries for your family, that's not real. Social media is telling you the wrong thing. Social media is clouding your vision. You don't understand. Things are great. I'm just going to keep repeating that because things are great. You just don't understand that it's great. We need to make sure you understand and see that they are great. Yeah, watch the little thing here and just understand things are great. Bidenomics is awesome, except for what's about to happen next.
The focus group people talked about social media and the misrepresentation, disinformation, all of those things are out there.
Look at Mika. She even knows, oh my God, he just did it again. And they've just slipped me a note here that I've got to go live with this next cut while this guy is spouting complete BS. Watch. You just look at her face. She looks like she's got to go to poopy herself at this point because she realized this guy's full of crap.
And that's the battle that we have to fight, and we've got to do a better job of fighting it more effectively.
So I'll validate that. I think the disinformation out there is distorting the entire process. I think social media doesn't help, but there's also a lack of validation that these voters feel. And I'm going to bring in Andrew Ross Sorkin right now because we just got breaking news. The consumer price index increased at a
while the sitting congressman is right there on live television. She's like, everything you just said, yeah, you're full of shit and you're lying, and I've got some breaking news that you're not going to like.
Faster than expected pace last month, a signal that inflation remains stubbornly high. Let's bring in Andrew, co-anchor of CNBC Squawk Box. What will this mean to people in their everyday lives?
Well, I think this was a big surprise. It is accelerating. And, we've been on this broadcast for months now about how the trend line was in President Biden's favor. Today, I imagine they're throwing a party in Mar-a-Lago because the truth is that right now, inflation has now moved in the opposite direction. So it's going to be harder for the administration to make the argument around this inflation trend line. What it means, and you're seeing it in the markets just right now, is that, frankly, mortgage rates are not going to be coming down. Credit card rates are not going to be coming down. There had been this view that the Federal Reserve might cut interest rates as early as June. There was an expectation of 3 interest rate cuts. Now that's getting pushed off again. You're seeing treasuries move up in price. The stock market has moved down on this news today. And as I said, it has been a shock and I think a surprise for many just how hot this number has turned out to be. And it surprised me too.
No more of a shock to you than it was to, Congressman Clyburn. I'm sure right then and there he ripped off his microphone and ran off set. Don't bring me back on after that. You just clipped my nuts on live television. He went on TV, he gaslit everybody, and then they did a breaking hit and brought in a guy who said, yeah, everything he just said is bullshit. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. That was absolutely brutal for both Clyburn and the Biden administration. You see, it's falling apart. It's falling apart in so many places, I don't think they can fix them all before November. We all know that the immigration debacle has pissed everybody off. We know the war in Israel is causing a lot of disappointment and disillusion with Democrat voters. The Ukraine piggy bank seems to be closing, and they are losing their stronghold in 2 very key demographics.
In the 2020 NBC News exit poll, candidate Biden led former President Trump by 24 percentage points among voters under 30. But an NBC survey in January had President Biden up by just 8 percentage points among that group. Another poll last month showed Mr. Trump ahead by 18 points among voters under 30.
How do you possibly make that up by November? Remember, Biden barely won in the last election, and now those demographics that he counted on have shifted substantially. Oh, and I've talked to you about the black vote in a couple of my other videos as well. So their usual rallying cry on the plantation, well, that's not working anymore either. At this point, people can see with their own eyes.
Donald Trump will embrace the underserved communities.
And while all that bad news hit Dementia Joe on the same day, Donald Trump was having a great day. The contrast was stark in comparison, as it always is, between Dementia Joe and Donald Trump.
It's like when we showed you the funeral with Donald Trump there with the people, mourning with them as Joe Biden is with all the celebrities across the street. Donald Trump went to a Chick-fil-A yesterday.
Oh, this was awesome.
Was
Absolutely
talking with
awesome.
the workers, and it was such an organic moment because you had all these people that obviously knew that the president was there,
this is Orlando, I
were
believe.
Trump supporters as well, minorities. Watch.
Good-looking group of people. Good-looking people. Wow, that was worth it. And I love those what you have here. Let me see. That's beautiful. Wow, it's art, right? You know everything okay? So can I have 30 milkshakes and also some chicken? I'm going to take care of the customers. Is business good? Making a lot of money? You're getting rich, right?
So he has, are you a Republican? And she said yes. Had she said no, would he still have ordered the 30
I think he was talking about, did one of the workers have a nose ring? And that's what he was saying. That's beautiful. It's art. And he pointed to his nose.
Right.
I love when Trump does this kind of stuff. It's so funny. And we've seen him do it before. Remember after his first court appearance, he went to that Cuban restaurant.
That's right.
Cuban food for everybody. Now it's Chick-fil-A and milkshakes for everybody.
So the second part of it I thought was really telling. Number one, unscripted. You have a very scripted press conference out there in the Rose Garden with the Chinese prime minister. And he has the questions. He's got the answers. He's scrambling to find out the order. Then you have another guy who walks into a fast food restaurant in downtown Atlanta and just says, let me order some of the food you have and let me just smile and find out what the people think. I don't know how this could go. If it went bad, there were plenty of cameras.
100%.
But not only did it go good dealing with the people behind the camera, I could see the raw feed. When he went up to Michaela Montgomery, he had another extemporaneous conversation. Listen to this exchange that even USA Today had to write up as a positive.
Now, this is absolutely awesome. Completely unscripted. He never knew how this was going to turn out. And you got to believe at this point, the media is like, oh my God, Poo-Poo Diaper Joe is done. Absolutely done. Watch this. I'm going to go big screen for this.
I don't care what the media tells you, Mr. Trump. We support you.
We love you.
Okay, 4 p.m. We've been 4 p.m.
Come here, let me give you a hug.
Please
Just to put it in perspective, Atlanta is the modern day Black Wall Street.
Well, I mean, I could let that play on and on. It just made my heart warm just seeing that reaction, pure, unscripted, everything. It makes everything that they've told you about the black community, about Donald Trump, it's complete bullshit. It's more gaslighting. Everybody knows it at this point. Understand, Atlanta is where Atlanta is in Fulton County, rather. So that's where Fannie Willis, that's her home base. And Donald Trump walks into a Chick-fil-A in Fulton County, Georgia, right there in the heart, the epicenter of Fannie Willis's lawsuit, and just is embraced by the black people in the restaurant. I mean, that to me says everything right there. It's becoming more clear every single day that people are no longer buying into the Biden administration propaganda, and they're tuning out the media as well. When as an American, you can see what's happening at the border. When you see what you're paying for gas, when you see the check that you have to write for your rent or mortgage payment, when you see the prices you have to pay for groceries to feed your family, the reality of life becomes crystal clear. Unless they cheat, there is no way they can beat Donald Trump in November. And I believe they are starting to realize that. God help us for what they may have planned. I mean, desperate people will use desperate measures. And at this point, they have to be extremely desperate. Let me know what you think about the contrast between Dementia Joe and Donald Trump, and if you're seeing the same thing that people in Atlanta, people here in South Florida, people across the country are seeing, that the gaslighting by the Biden administration is over. We're not paying attention to it anymore. You're not paying attention to it. We see the reality of the situation, and this guy has got to go. Talk to you soon.